Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Welcome everyone to this Veterans Radio Show and podcast. As I was introducing actually our segment, it seemed like technology did not want to work with us. So we were actually kind of like a little frozen. But let me recap for you what we have going on for you. We have a Veteran Disability Benefits Awareness Day today. I have Matty Sandoval, who's here to talk to us about all that you need to know about SSI, SSDI, and all of those things that are all intended for veterans to pursue a disability claim through the Social Security Administration. So again, I want to acknowledge our production team in the back, but Maddie is no stranger to the Veteran Radio Show and podcast. He was actually here a few weeks back at the beginning of the year to tell us a little bit about, just to give us those teasers, what it's like to apply for disability benefits, what you need to know. And so this time that he's here today, we are very happy because we actually have some questions. We have some amazing questions that our team has got together, but also some of those veterans out there who have watched before are interested in knowing more. So without further ado, Maddie, how are you today? Thank you for joining us again at this Friday show. And thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge.
Well, thank you, Laura. It's great to be back, and it's great to share some of my experiences and things I've learned along the way with the veterans.
Thank you. And so just recap, tell us a little bit more about you and how you became to be a disability attorney. Or why did you choose this particular subject matter area to be your emphasis in supporting individuals in the law?
Certainly. Well, back in the dark ages, I graduated from law school here in San Diego at the University of San Diego in 1987. And I thought I was going to go into real estate development, and did a couple of projects with an accountant friend and was terribly bored with it. Back in those days, before laptops and computers and internet and everything else, they had a job board outside of the USD Law Library where they would post 3x5 cards looking for employees. And I took a job with an attorney that was doing Social Security and SSI disability work, just looking for a job, and I fell in love with it almost immediately. I have always been somewhat of a socially active person with that mindset. And I recognized that the disabled demographic was perfect for me. I got into an area of law that I'm really proud of, that I really feel as if I'm helping a lot of people. And so I have that feel good with me almost every day.
Well, I'm glad that you chose an area that really creates a lot of impact and helps others who are perhaps maybe a little bit less, and it happens where there's a lot of us who are very unaware and do experience some of these situations that we do have to tap into certain benefits. And I'm glad that you chose a professional or a subject matter area that is actually very beneficial to our community. So it's a different type of law and a little type of activism, right? And so we're very grateful for your time and your expertise. And with that, I want to jump in and ask your first question and just indulge us and let us know, what type of disability programs are there that we veterans or military families can benefit, or overall anyone out there?
Yes. The Social Security Administration has a few different programs. I'm going to stick to those. There's obviously service-connected and non-service-connected VA disability benefits, but my expertise actually lies in the Social Security Administration's disability programs, and there are a few of them. The two primary disability programs are disability insurance benefits, or what's commonly known as SSDC. They act somewhat like a pension. As you work, one of the deductions that you'll see in the little box on your paycheck stub goes into the Social Security Trust Fund. And then when you turn 66, you can start receiving those. Some people, unfortunately, become disabled and can't work sometime prior to turning 66. And so they apply for disability insurance benefits, or SSDC. The qualifiers there are that you had to work enough and pay in enough so that you're allowed to even apply for disability benefits. And the word most people hear is quarters. You have enough quarters, or you don't have enough quarters. And basically, that's 5 out of the last 10 years. And it's multiplied into quarters, which is 20 out of 40 quarters. So if you've worked and paid in enough, you can start getting your retirement insurance benefits through Social Security as disability insurance benefits at any age, provided you've worked and paid in enough. The second program, I'm sorry, go ahead, Laura.
Oh, I was going to say that's great. So that is 2 separate programs, right? And these both can qualify for veterans as well, correct?
Yes, and that's the wonderful thing, that veterans pay in to the Social Security Administration as part of their active duty pay. And so veterans actually really benefit quite a bit if they also receive VA disability benefits. They can receive both VA disability benefits and Social Security disability benefits without any offsets whatsoever.
That's wonderful. Now, tell me about, you were mentioning a second program before I interrupted you. What is that second program that is available for also for us to take advantage if something happens?
Yes, Laura. The other program is called SSI, or Supplemental Security Income Disability Benefits. A lot of people think everything is SSI, but actually the vast majority of Social Security benefits are the benefits we just spoke of. SSI benefits are for people that are disabled, that haven't paid in enough to the system, but there's also a need-based qualifier there. And those benefits actually come from tax dollars, or the tax fund, the general tax fund. They vary from state to state because each state makes a contribution, but you can be a person that never worked and is disabled, and you can get SSI benefits if, of course, you don't have the wherewithal and you meet the need qualifier. And those are pretty popular benefits, unfortunately, for people that are younger or haven't had a work history. Sometimes, stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home dads that don't pay in for the last number of years that become disabled. The disability component is exactly the same. It's a pretty simple one. It's basically you have to prove that you're medically incapable of working for any reason. Could be illness, could be an accident. Mental illness is a big one. And if you meet the need threshold, then you're entitled to SSI disability benefits.
So then let me ask you, let me just jump in. And by the way, I encourage those who are currently viewing and to participate and ask your questions. We'll try to answer those right on the spot towards the end of the segment. And if you have your specific questions, please post them under the comments. We'll make sure that we get them towards and get Maddie so that he can respond to those individually. But Maddie, first tell me, how can I apply, and how can, what happens after I submit my application? Then what? How long does it take, or what do I do?
So there are a couple of ways to submit an application for disability benefits. One is to go online. Their address is ssa.gov, ssa.gov. Another one is to call their toll-free 800 number, which is 1-800-772-1213. And traditionally, before COVID, a third popular way was to go into your local Social Security district office and apply in person. Because they're limiting hours and not seeing people in person with COVID, they've on their website, they've also published the local district office telephone number. And that, from what I understand from my support staff, seems to be the most efficient way these days to apply. So again, in person at a district office nowadays, it's doing it, telephoning them directly, calling their national toll-free number, or going online. And you can apply for any of their benefits. You can get your Social Security card replaced. All those things are available any of those ways.
And so what kind of evidence are they looking for when I submit my application? So if I go online, it's pretty lonely to submit an application that sometimes you are not aware of what are some of those requirements. So what kind of evidence am I going to have to submit, or would they be looking for or asking once I submit my application?
So when you submit your application, what they ask for is your recent medical history, understanding that, you know, disability is all, it's as a result of some medical issue. So you will provide doctors' names, addresses, phone numbers, hospitals if there's been hospitalizations, therapists for those in the mental health disability arena, and you provide just that information to the Social Security Administration, and they will actually, through a state department, meaning every state has one, a disability division, they will get those records for you. And then they employ what we call reviewing doctors to review the records and make a determination whether they think you're disabled or not. And unfortunately, they're budgeted about 8 minutes per case, no matter how big it is, to go through these voluminous medical records and make that recommendation. And as you can probably guess, the recommendation is usually that you're not disabled and you receive a denial. That normally comes on average about 6 months after your application.
I was just going to ask you, what is usually the timeline, or how long should I patiently just sit back and wait for the response? Now, let me ask you here another question that was submitted actually through our email. Now, when do I need a lawyer like yourself so that I can proceed, you know, with further support in the event that either I get denied, or do I need a lawyer to begin with from the start?
The answer is you really don't need a lawyer unless you want to win. that's kind of the.
So that's when you come in. If I want to make sure that my results and my disability, because really, I mean, if I do have a disability and it's been acknowledged by the VA, I think I have a pretty good chance of submitting and getting potentially qualified through the Social Security Administration. So then you come in and then you'll help me, correct?
Yeah. So what I would recommend is once you receive that first denial, you're almost certainly going to end up in front of a disability judge. There is another interim appeal and denial, but very few cases turn around at that point. If you're denied, you're almost 95+% certain to end up in front of a disability judge. To go in front of a disability judge without a lawyer is the proverbial snowball's chance, and you know where. You're probably not gonna win. And so get a lawyer and get a lawyer that's familiar with the system, knows what type of evidence that you're gonna need, and can handle your case from there. And that's the important part. To circle back to your previous question of what type of evidence do you need, what it really comes down to is your doctor's opinion of what you're functionally capable of doing. If it comes down to what a person says they could or couldn't do, then everybody that applies will get benefits. So
right.
The Social Security doctor that reviewed the case that we just spoke of has given an opinion on that, but that's not a doctor that's ever even seen a disability claimant. That's a doctor who's merely reviewed the records. So the law recognizes that a treating doctor is much better positioned to make a determination on whether a person can work or not. And it's not just necessarily the question of disability, it's a question of functionality. So for example, a person with a bad back, it would be, how long can you sit? How long can you stand? Can you bend? Can you stoop? How much weight can you lift and carry? Every job, from my job, which is a sit-down job, to the people that are right now working out in the street outside of my office, have an 8-hour combination of these things: sitting, standing, bending, stooping, lifting, carrying, handling, fingering. Mine's obviously a lot easier than theirs from a physical exertional standpoint, but a doctor's opinion of what you're capable of doing is really the cornerstone evidence that a judge is looking for.
Exactly. And you're right. I mean, sometimes sitting on a desk or sitting, and typing and all that, even though you are in an office, not necessarily physical in the back, it is exhausting sometimes, depending on what you do. Now, let me ask you a question. We have a question from a viewer. Do you service California or a specific geographical region?
Well, I can service the whole United States. This is all federal law, so it doesn't vary from Delaware to Southern California. It's the same law, and now because of COVID, they're doing telephonic or video hearings, and so I can service anybody anywhere and give them the same level of expertise that the local clientele that I most represent here in Southern California. But it's much better to have a disability attorney if you live in Iowa than it is to have a local attorney that doesn't know what they're doing here, even if that disability attorney is in a state 5 states over.
And I have to agree on that, because certain communities, depending on how the population or the needs or the resources, that the expertise get a little bit, they just get less and less and less. So I certainly encourage those that are looking into it to review and talk to you and to get a hold of you. But first, let me recap real quick for those that are joining us and watching. We are talking to Matty Sandoval, and we're talking all about disabilities. He's a disability attorney, and educating us here today about SSI and SSDI and all of the things that you as a veteran can qualify, or a family member, caregiver, someone that needs to apply for Social Security benefits in a more of a disability benefit, what you need to know in order for you to successfully win your case, as well as get those benefits that are well needed. And I want to give a chance for my colleague. Let me see if anybody has any more questions. And I think we do have another question from our audience, and I wanted to bring it up. Do individuals have a recourse with being aware of disability pay if they are terminated due to sickness, like such as diabetes or transportation issues, or industry like trucking? So do you see that often common, Maddie? Do individuals have recourse of being awarded disability pay if they're terminated due to an illness?
Yeah,
and actually, it's an illness that you cannot control in a way. Once you get it, you get it.
I apologize. Yeah, the question in legal terms is causation, meaning what caused it. And there's no causation in disability. It could be accident, it could be illness. Again, it could be an emotional breakdown of sorts. It doesn't matter how you lost your job. It only matters whether you're able to work or not. So they won't hold why you left work against you in trying to establish that you're disabled.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, Maddie, let me ask you, would everyone who applies get a hearing? Or what happens if I am submitted to go to a hearing for disability benefits?
Yes, everybody that applies, that appeals, that pursues their claim will ultimately end up in front of a judge, unless, of course, they're awarded benefits at the lower levels. And so the third appeal, you get denied initially. We spoke of that. There's an interim appeal, another paper appeal. After the second appeal, you can request to see a Social Security judge. And that's really when, in my opinion, you're getting the first full and fair look at your case. It's not just a disability analyst and a doctor that's reviewing your records. You're actually getting to testify. On occasion, there'll be a medical expert, another person that's reviewed the case to help the judge sort out the medical issues. There's almost always a job expert, a person that has reviewed your work. And one of the questions is, in light of your limitations, can you do the work you used to do? And if not, can you do any other work? This is total disability, meaning you have to prove not only that you can't be a truck driver, to use your example, but that you can't be a security guard, say, as well. And so the hearings are what they call a non-adversarial informal proceeding, which means there's not a lawyer for the government. It's you, and hopefully you have a lawyer, and then the judge will have a clerk there to record things, a vocational expert almost always, and a medical expert. Testimony will be taken from everybody that's there except the clerk and the judge and the lawyer, but from the other witnesses, the lawyer will have an opportunity to cross-examine the government witnesses, and they don't generally give you a decision at the hearing. They know that people are fragile. A lot of them are financially in pretty bad shape. They don't want to tell you they're going to deny your case because they don't want the drama. And on the other side of the coin, because people are unfortunately somewhat desperate for income, if they tell you they grant your case and it takes them a month or two to get your written decision to you, they don't want people inundating them with phone calls saying the judge said he's going to grant me benefits. I'm about ready to get evicted. So on both sides of it, they're instructed not to tell you at the hearing. The decision comes generally about 4 to 6 weeks after the hearing in a letter.
Got it. Now, I know that sometimes, especially with transitioning, some veterans are able to collect or qualify for unemployment, or even after they have perhaps, transitioned into a career and if things did not work out or you got injured. Can you get unemployment while you wait for your case to be reviewed by the judge and or your application?
That's a great question. And I think it's going to be one that we're going to face a lot with the mass layoffs and business closures with COVID and so many people receiving unemployment benefits now. And the answer is effectively no. In order to qualify for unemployment, to certify with, here it's the state EDD or Economic Development Division, you have to essentially swear under oath, although you do it on a computer screen, that you're ready, willing, and able to work. And the last part, able, means that you're not disabled. So to argue for disability benefits to the federal government while you're certifying to the state government that you're able to work, just can't find a job, under oath to a judge that you couldn't work, say since September of 2019 or whatever date, for the same time period, you're lying to one governmental entity or the other, and I can't let you lie under oath. So the answer is no. You can't get unemployment for the same period of time that you're saying you're disabled.
So then what happens if my workplace accommodates me, or if I do find let's say a side gig that allows me to have certain accommodations while I wait for my case to be reviewed? What happens if I go back to work? Will that affect my status?
Well, there's a couple parts of that question. If you're able to work, you're not disabled. So there are a lot of people that would meet the medical definition of disability and otherwise qualify for Social Security or SSI disability, even though they're medically disabled. And work is far preferable to disability benefits. So in that part of the question, keep working as long as you can. The other part I think I heard, and I might be wrong, was what happens if I return to work? Generally, let's say somebody that has a heart attack and a heart condition isn't able to work and then undergoes bypass surgery, and then their health improves and they return to work. Provided that their disability lasted a minimum of 12 continuous months, they can receive a Social Security award for the period of time they were off work. So we do see things like surgeries that improve one's health. In the mental health arena, they're always trying to come up with medications that might improve a person's mental impairment and stabilize them and make them more functional. And so provided you're off of work for 12 continuous months and you could pinpoint the time when medical improvement happened, you can get disability benefits for what we call a closed period of disability, or a finite start and finish date.
Got it. And I'm going to give my colleagues a chance to ask questions. Dali, I believe you had a couple of questions as well, so please chime in.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Maddie, for your time. My question, I have two questions. How far back can someone who gets approved get back paid? And the second one is one that I've heard a lot from veterans. Is there a percentage that the attorney gets from their winnings if they win that SSI ID or any of those benefits?
Yeah, and the great questions, Dolly. Thank you for them. I'll answer the first part first, and then the second part actually kind of ties into the first part. So we talked about the two programs, Social Security Disability Insurance Benefits, or SSDC. They will pay a person up to a year prior to application. And that's a pretty critical thing, because if you apply for benefits, say 18 months after an accident or an illness causes you to stop working, you've given up 6 months of benefits. So you really want to apply within the first 12 months of benefits to get all that you're entitled to. For SSI, they'll pay you back to the date of application. So as you probably can do the math, through the fight, you're going to have what we call back pay or retroactive benefits. And the attorney fee is 25% of the back pay with a cap of $6,000. So if the back pay exceeds $24,000, it's not 25%. So for example, if the back pays $30,000, the attorney gets $6,000, that's 20%. But the fee agreement, and it's monitored and regulated by the government, is 25% of the back pay with a cap of $6,000.
Got it. That's
Thank
great.
you. That's really interesting. Yeah, that I'm sure.
Any more questions?
I'm sorry. If I could, I was finished, but I wanted to just let your audience know that if the claim is not successful, then there's no attorney fee at all. And if there's any attorneys out there that are trying to charge you money up front or bill you for a case that isn't successful, they're breaking law. And the other part that I want to mention is, once you're on it and you can continue to receive a monthly disability check, there's no attorney fee paid out of those.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And what about you, Jimmy? You had some questions you wanted to ask?
Yeah, actually I do. Now, let's say we went to the court and you represent me to the court, but at the end I got denied. What is other steps somebody can take? Is there any other way somebody can go back to court? Or what next? Yeah,
that's a great question, Jimmy. Thanks. Good to see you today. There are appeals after a judge denial, or administrative law judge, what they are. So most of my cases that get denied will appeal to the Appeals Council, which is their appellate board. It's outside of Washington, D.C. in Falls Church, Virginia. And there's a written appeal as to why we think the judge was wrong. I do that on most of the denials. And then if you're denied there, that's called final administrative appeal, meaning that's within the domain of the Social Security Administration. But if you're still unsatisfied and the evidence seems to speak strongly to a person's disability, we can sue the Social Security Administration in federal court, in the United States District Court. Those cases then become a lawsuit rather than just a disability claim. And so then a lawyer comes in on the other side, a Social Security lawyer, and you battle it out in federal court. It's a written fight where you file what we call a brief, a written argument as to why we think the judge was wrong. The government will do the same, and then a federal court will decide. If you continue to be denied because they're federal benefits, you can pursue it all the way to the United States Supreme Court. Very few people do. You can go the appellate courts, the United States Court of Appeals. I've done a few of those. I'm working on a district court case right now. So I do probably somewhere in the 8 to 10 cases a year up into federal court. And so, like I said, you could continue to appeal your claim ostensibly as far as the United States Supreme Court.
Okay. To conclude with that question, now when you go to the federal court, the client still don't have to pay anything, correct? Or the payment now after some coming?
Well, they don't have to pay an attorney fee. As a matter of fact, an attorney can't charge one. Again, it's illegal even at that level to accept payment for an ongoing disability appeal, but there is a filing fee that the federal court charges to file the lawsuit, and that's $400. And generally speaking, most lawyers, certainly I do, is I ask the client to find the $400 to sue the government, just to put a little skin in the game. I ask every client to pay the filing fee. So I hope that answers your question, Jimmy.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
This is all great information, Maddie. We're so glad that you are here to educate us, and we definitely look forward to submitting more future questions and bringing you back again in the near future. But we've got to wrap it up, and we've got to make sure that we encourage our audience to make sure that you like, shared, and subscribe to our channel or to your YouTube channel so that you can get notified when we go live with amazing segments such as this one, as well as make sure that you connect with Matty Sandoval and to our Veteran Chamber of Commerce so that you can get enrolled or active through any of our other programming. So make sure you thumbs up, like, and follow, and of course share. Thank you so much for having us today, Matty Sandoval, for educating us, for talking about disability and all of the great ways for us to be able to benefit and proceed when it comes to proceeding with this case. Also make sure that you reach out to Matty Sandoval, and I'm going to put you on the spot, Maddie. What is the best way to reach out to you?
Yes, I think you're putting up my website, but my phone number, toll free around the country, is 1-800-456-5034. And you can find all that contact information rather, on my website as well. There's a lot of great information there, some of which we covered today, but a lot more. And I'm ready, willing, and able to help. and I enjoyed my time with you, Laura, and the rest of you, as I always do.
And we have too. And by the way, you have a great video out there. I was like hooked this morning reviewing and looking for more, just to get to know you better. And you have a great video that really specifies and targets, what you need to know about disability. So thank you for all of the resources. So, and for you who's watching, please continue to submit your questions. We'll be glad to get those to Maddie. But you can also reach out to him directly at 1-800-456-5304. It's a toll-free number from anywhere in the country. And so with
Laura,
that,
Laura, before you sign off, it's 5034. 456-5034.
5034, correct. Okay, thank you so much for that and for clarifying that. 5034, there you go. So it's all correct. So make sure that you reach out to Maddie, as well as you can also reach out directly to us, to our Veteran Radio Show. So this is your weekly show featuring military veteran spouses and community leaders while exploring heroism, action, and leadership for those that are making it happen. And definitely Matty Sandoval is one of those who is making it happen. Thank you so much. Join us again next week for another segment and another guest. Thank you. Make sure that you like and you follow.